What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Today, this time, we're not as rushed. Luka Doncic is not getting traded to the Lakers on a night where we're all going crazy, everyone on social media. We're taking a step back. Hope everyone enjoyed the Super Bowl because we'll be dropping this on Monday because no one's going to watch this on Sunday. They're locked in on the Super Bowl. What's your prediction, real quick, Griff?
Unfortunately, I can't bet against the Chiefs anymore, having, been a Chargers fan my entire life, getting beat by them twice this year. Their magic is just too strong. So unfortunately, I think they're going to win. But, I don't really care. Don't like Philly fans. Sorry. You guys are annoying if you're listening from Philly, but I can't do it. I can't do it, man.
Yeah, no. I think I got to run with the Chiefs too. You can't bet against. It's like betting against Tom Brady. You can't do it. But
Yeah.
hey.
At this point, a three-peat, it's tough for my boy Tom in the GOAT conversation.
It's fine. Would have happened in, Golden State, but the Raptors won. It's, we got hurt. We got hurt. We would have done it. We would have done it. But hey, this is not about that. We might be talking a little bit of Kevin Durant though, because that was a big topic over this trade deadline. But the trade deadline's passed. We're into the buyout market as of the time of recording. Ben Simmons had just signed today with the Los Angeles Clippers. Interesting pickup there. Ty Lue. If anyone's going to help kind of turn it around, it's probably Ty Lue. Don't really know if Brooklyn was really the environment for that to happen, but we'll see. Otherwise, a lot of trades to break down here. And also at the time of recording, right now on Saturday, Mark Williams and Dalton Connect, the trade that was big, big trade for the Lakers, obviously not the biggest one that happened to them, is got voided. Interesting situation there. Do you have any quick thoughts, Griff, before we get into these other trades?
Yeah. I mean, like, just from the jump when that trade happened, the Hornets and the Lakers were both betting in opposite directions what Mark Williams' health was going to be, because based on that, Mark Williams has been solid for the Hornets, but when he's only played about a third of his entire total games that he could have played in his NBA career. He's only played about a third of those. So health has obviously been a factor for him, and obviously that's why the trade was rescinded. It sucks 100%. It sucks for the Lakers because you definitely needed front court help coming up because you lost so much center depth with the AD trade. So it's tough for this year, especially. You wish this was done before the trade deadline so you could possibly pivot and try to get another center. Maybe there's a buyout guy, but when was the last time a buyout guy was actually relevant? Birdman back in Miami, like,
Yeah,
it
no.
doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that often. But the Hornets, it doesn't really change that much for them. They're still going to be bad. They're
Yeah.
still going to be bad.
I mean, yeah, it would have been nice. I mean, because the unprotected pick in 2031 would have been nice. The pick
Yeah.
swap, who knows how Charlotte's going to be. But like, it seems like they always what? So like Nick Richards is the guy there, and then he goes obviously to Phoenix, and then
hmm
Mark Williams steps up, and then since Mark Williams has been out of the lineup, like Musa Diabate is like now good.
Yeah, he's their starting center,
They're like
and
producing,
Nurkic is gonna back him up apparently.
but
But
they
now,
produce random centers. It seems like who knows.
yeah,
Shout
I
out.
mean, it's just like classic. It's classic Hornets. Like that 2031 pick really could have potentially turned into something cool, but with Luke on the Lakers now, probably not. That pick really fell in value. Dalton Connect, I wasn't that high on for them because he is, you know, a super old rookie. Like, how much better can he really get? So, I don't know.
Yeah, he's
Tough
a
for the
guy.
Lakers, I think, more than the Hornets.
He's a good floor raiser. He's not really a ceiling
Yeah.
guy. But hey, let's talk about Brandon Ingram. The first of May, I mean, well, not the first, but the first trade we're talking about on this list. A lot of former and current All-Stars moved at the deadline. I think
hmm
there's no doubt this is the biggest deadline that's ever happened. I mean, it started off with a trade no one could have ever imagined. Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a pick to the Mavericks, for Luka Doncic, Kleber, Markieff Morris. We'll get into that later. But Brandon Ingram, he's going to Toronto. I'll read the trade details off, and then Griffin, I'll let you kind of take over with what you got to say. The Raptors straight up received Brandon Ingram, and exchange New Orleans receives Bruce Brown, who's expiring, Kelly Olynyk, who's 2 years remaining. At the time, he hasn't been bought out, but he's been rumored to potentially be, but we'll see. Otherwise,
Bruce Brown, right?
no, Bruce Brown is going to stay, from what I've seen reports. But
Really?
Kelly Olynyk could get bought out. Uh,
Okay.
another interesting guy, veteran big. And then a 2026 first via Indiana and a 2031 second via Toronto. I got my grades, but I want to tell it off to you first, Griff. What do you think about this?
I mean, really, this was one of the tougher grades that I had to give out because to me, Brandon Ingram obviously wanted out of New Orleans, and New Orleans kind of seemed done with him as well. Um, from a Raptors perspective, They just really seem like a team of like second and third options on like a championship team or a team that could go deep in the playoffs. They don't have like, to me, Scotty Barnes hasn't proved that he's that guy that can like raise your floor that much so you'll be a perennial playoff team.
Mhm.
It's definitely, you're getting a better player. You didn't really give up that much because those picks don't seem like they'll be that good.
Yeah.
And Bruce Brown, yeah, he's gonna stay in New Orleans for
But
sure, right? That's what
he's
you're saying.
expiring though.
Yeah,
So
so probably gonna leave. Kelly Olynyk gonna get bought out. So it's really that first. I mean, he tanked his value in the offseason to me, Brandon Ingram.
mhm.
So it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough, but it's just I don't know. The Raptors to me seem so ever since that championship have kind of haven't made moves that I've loved.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I mean, honestly, letting Fred VanVleet walk was fine, but just some other stuff like the
Hmm.
Siakam Hall wasn't much, you know. It's interesting. And like you're talking about with this team, like it's kind of a weird comparison that came to my mind when you were talking about it. I mean, you assuming your starting lineup's going to look something like Emmanuel when healthy, of course, which they haven't
Yeah.
been all this year. Emmanuel quickly at the one, RJ Barrett at the two, Brandon Ingram at the three, Scotty at the four, and Jake Jakob Poeltl at the five. That's like an all like 84, 85 overalls in 2K. Like that's the
No,
way I kind of
100%.
feel. Like they're all
Yeah.
just kind of, I mean, honestly, Scotty's probably got the highest ceiling in that group, but it's interesting. And I mean, going in the next season, looking at their salary cap, assuming that they made this move to think, okay, we're going to bring Brandon Ingram back based on how he plays. When you ink him to a deal, which let's say $30 million, you're going to be over the salary cap. You have all your money basically invested in these guys with, Ochai Agbaji is going to be on the final year of his contract. He'll be extension eligible this summer. Grady Dick is going to be going into the second to last year of his deal next year. It's a lot of interesting pieces that they have that, are they really going to emerge? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a coaching change there, a philosophy. I mean, maybe, Masai Ujiri's done. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be there if I was him to tarnish my legacy because it seems like just a weird situation. It's like a bunch of guys that maybe could fit on other teams, but just don't fit on this team together.
Yeah. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. Toronto's just been like treading water, like trying to stay afloat. But like to me, I don't know. I feel like when I come on this podcast, I'm very much like I'm quicker to blow it up than clearly these teams are. And I think I'm just able to see from a 30,000 foot view. But like, really, what does this get you? You still need, like you were saying, that 90 plus overall guy in like on a 2K rating scale. Like, where's that guy? Like, the Raptors are bad enough where they're, the 13th seed in the East right now. So if they keep losing, if their health isn't great, they could, maybe the ping pong balls fall where they may, and they could get a guy who could really change the franchise. But right now, it's just like, it doesn't really move me. I gave both of these grades a C.
Mhm.
Like it just was like, it felt very lateral, even though it was a guy like Brandon Ingram, who we think of pretty highly around the league. But I
Yeah.
also do think this is a reflection of the new CBA as well. Like this is kind of like,
Yeah.
you know,
The new CBA definitely affected it, but
yeah.
I mean, also kind of looking at it, I guess the reason why getting off, I mean, Ingram was going to expire anyway and go, but the reason to
Hmm.
get guys like Bruce Brown that are going to expire is, Trey Murphy's extension kicks in next year for the Pelicans. He'll be making 25 million. He's a really intriguing piece. That team's just kind of confusing to me. I don't really understand it.
It's obvious they need to decide on Zion, and
Yeah.
like I think it'd be beneficial for both at this point. Zion probably needs a new place to go, a new change of scenery, and then for the Pelicans to kind of move off, not always hoping that maybe this is the time he'll get healthy, maybe this is the time he'll change his mentality. So I don't know. Again, both these teams are just like very middling right now, and to me, this move doesn't really point in either, like, not in the direction where I think they should go, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next deal. My Golden State Warriors going out there trading. It's a larger trade, but we'll kind of keep it as it is. The Warriors receiving Jimmy Butler, 2 second-round picks via Miami, and the Heat receiving Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell, who came in through some other partners in the trade, and Golden State's top 10 protected first-round pick this year. At the time of this recording, again, I'll keep saying that Jimmy Butler just had his debut. I think he had 25 points if I'm correct what he finished with against his Chicago Bulls, who honestly were the team he was drafted by. So interesting fit here. He hasn't been on the basketball court for a while, but good sign to see for a Warriors fan to see putting up good points in this game. In this terms of trade, I think I'd have an A minus for the Warriors. I mean, only having really to give up Andrew Wiggins is the main rotational piece in this trade because sure, Dennis Schroeder, he had his moments, things like that, but he was never really good. And no, he was really only good if Curry wasn't on the floor. As someone that pays attention to this team, he only would put up stats if Curry wasn't on the floor. Kyle Anderson, sure, but you have guys like Gui Santos and Quentin Post making moves in the lineup, stepping up. Lindy Waters, whoever was thrown in this trade. And you're giving up a first round pick this year that, if things go terrible, you hope that it's not, the 11th overall pick, but it's, probably going to be a mid-teens pick, if anything. So I think it's a good value. But yeah, I'll bounce it off to you.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I gave, the Warriors a B plus. I gave the Heat a D. I think the Warriors pretty easily kind of win this trade. Again, like you're saying, they didn't give up that much. And I mean, it seemed like Andrew Wiggins was a fan favorite around the Bay and in that fan base,
Yeah,
especially,
100%.
being a key contributor in that championship win. And also, it seems like everything he's gone through in his personal life, it seems like everybody wanted him to succeed and he was bouncing back this year. So again, I would say for the Warriors, like you definitely owe at this point Steph Curry, who has brought in 4 championships to the Bay, you owe him a competitive roster, and this the roster beforehand was not. And you get a guy who, as we've seen, can carry a team to a championship, to the finals, not necessarily has won it, but in
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler. I think adding that is key. The reason I guess I wasn't as high on it, it's just Jimmy is such an explosive personality. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
think it could go bad. It could go bad, and this is definitely not the safest star you could trade for right now. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my thoughts on the Warrior side of it. I guess for the Heat. Um, for where Jimmy's value is at right now, I think it's like an okay haul. You get a guy in Wiggins who was having a bounce back season, and Davion Mitchell is still young enough where he can kind of improve based on where he was picked when he was picked by Sacramento, and kind of get ingrained in that Heat culture. However
Yeah.
much you believe in that. But it could be good. It could be good. But the reason I gave him a D is just you should have traded Jimmy way earlier than you did,
Oh,
and this
yeah.
haul that you got is nowhere near the level of a talent that Jimmy is, and what he honestly meant to your franchise. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure for Pat
Yeah.
Riley.
I mean, if you think about it, if because I mean, I've seen Heat fans on Twitter, everything like that. If you go back, just say to the offseason when you came to the conclusion that the two sides weren't going to agree to an extension, because that's when this stuff started coming out. If you looked at, hey, let's trade him now while we can. As I say, the Warriors were still in this trade. I'd expect a Jonathan Kuminga, a Brandon
Hmm.
Ponchetsky to be in this deal, probably another first round pick. But I will say the good thing in this deal is I think Wiggins is good because he's not going to demand much on that team, and I feel like
Hmm.
it'll be a good fit in. Will allow guys like Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo to do their stuff, and with that, let's say the Warriors pick is let's round, let's say between 13 and 17. The Heat have been pretty decent in that range in the last couple of years. You look at guys like
Hmm.
Jaime Jaquez. Obviously, this year, Kel'el Ware has been a standout rookie. So maybe they get some magic there again. But like you said, they should have traded him earlier. So let's move on to one of actually my favorite trades, which obviously is not even near touching kind of the big blockbusters of this deadline. But DeAndre Hunter going from the Atlanta Hawks to the Cleveland Cavaliers in this deal. It's just DeAndre Hunter heading to the Cavs in exchange for Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. I think this is an A, maybe even A plus for Cleveland. Obviously, Karis LeVert's been a pretty solid bench player for them, and you get some role time out of George Niang. But DeAndre Hunter's been resurgent this year. I think they've been looking for that guy, whether it was going to be Max Strus, but now you get a guy in Hunter who's been one of the best bench scorers in the league this year. I think he's going to be a great fit on this Cleveland team, and sure they are one of the best teams in the entire league this year, heading towards the All-Star break, but. I like that their front office didn't say, hey, let's just stay put. We go out, be aggressive, get a guy like DeAndre Hunter, probably a better fit than, getting a guy like Brandon Ingram that would have cost them Levert and I think like Max Strus in order to get the salaries to match.
Hmm.
So a guy that's not going to demand a lot, but he might be able to hit some big shots for them when the time matters.
100%. I'm really big on this move. I agree. I gave the Cavs an A. I think DeAndre Hunter really underrated. I think league wide, he's averaging 19 points right now and 39% from 3-point land. Definitely a guy who can contribute, make some shots. But also, I think this is definitely like a play for a playoff series. Like this is a move you make if you're trying to go all in. You are trying to compete with the New York Knicks of the world and the Boston Celtics of the world. I think this guy can guard up some of their more versatile wings and can add that element on defense as well. Very switchable. So I love the move for the Cavs. For the Hawks, like those picks that they're getting back aren't very good. Again, I think it's kind of similar to what we've kind of seen from a lot of these teams here in this trade deadline, where you are moving a guy out who has been a big contributor, but the things you're getting back really aren't changing, I think, your long-term trajectory in any real way,
Yeah.
and not really giving us kind of an indication on where, the Hawks organization is going to be. Because, the fork in the road is eventually going to come where it's going to be like, okay, what do we do with Trey Young? What is the actual like?
Yeah.
Are we committing to this for real, or do we have to pivot and move off it and try to blow it up or move him or whatever? So
Yeah,
I
because
don't know.
they also traded Bojan Bogdanovic to the Clippers, which we won't talk about in this, but they got 3 seconds as well. So basically 6 second round picks and 2 pick swaps for DeAndre Hunter.
People love their seconds
Yeah,
recently. It's the
no,
new CBA. It's like the seconds have been so like inflated. It's
because if you can
ridiculous.
hit on a guy that's a second round pick and he doesn't make a lot of money, if you can
Yeah,
get
no,
two
100%.
years out of him, who
It
knows?
feels like also the second round pick hit rate has gone up a little bit. Maybe
Oh, it
that's
has.
just like a placebo effect or something that I'm not really like, talking out my ass about, but I do think the second round pick rate has gone up
I know. No,
quite a
I've thought
bit.
about that recently. I
Hmm.
was like, it's gotten a little bit more valuable. But
Yeah.
like I said, interesting trade. Like, and then you're saying with Trey Young, I mean, where would he go is my question because San Antonio was the place. We'll get into that in a second. But um, like Orlando, like
I,
what?
d- I don't know. I mean,
Orlando wouldn't fit into their identity. Like,
this summer it seemed like it was seeming like the Hawks were trying to shop him this summer. I don't know if you agree, but it seems like
yeah,
they were kind of at that fork in the road and they were seeing what the league wide value of him was, and to me they clearly value him more in Atlanta than the rest of the league does. And as you're saying, he makes so much money, and if he is a clear defensive liability like he is, incredible offensive player, but
yeah,
like still, it seems like I don't know where he would go. Like it's
yeah. And,
tough.
and think about this. Like, San
Orlando might be fun,
they
but
should have forced the hand to San Antonio, like giving in a little less because they have control of all their draft capital.
yeah, no, you could have just gotten your picks back and really bought him out.
Like, just like let them be. Like, now you're in a situation where, okay, Jalen Johnson went down for the season. We sold a lot of our key role players. And like, now where do you send them? You look at teams like that would have assets to do it. Utah wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City got a ton of staff, but they got Shea. You know,
Hmm.
Minnesota doesn't have the assets to do it. Just gonna look at other teams like what, the Clippers don't have any assets to pull that off. Like the Rockets wouldn't really make sense.
Yeah,
It's
like it's just the teams that have a war chest right now, it doesn't make sense for them really anymore to for them to do that. Like, Rockets, they got a men, like you were
like
saying,
maybe
like
Brooklyn, like if Brooklyn just like we want a box office guy,
yeah, if you want to sell tickets, maybe Brooklyn. Yeah, like
like you
that
give up
honestly that's
like
probably the best.
like Cam Johnson and some picks. Like you get
Yeah.
like maybe like 2 picks from that New York trade and something else. Like,
Yeah.
but like really, yeah, what else? Like
I don't know.
Washington just makes it
I
like I think it seems going to get him on buy him low because his no one's going to have the willingness to give up a lot for him because there's just not enough need.
it's just so crazy to me, like thinking about these guys' value compared to like 3 years ago before the new CBA kicked in, because like Trey Young is making too much money right now, but he is still such an incredible player.
Hmm.
It's it's so interesting how
Yeah.
teams are kind of navigating it right now. But
Like
yeah,
given
like you were
what
saying,
Mikal Bridges and Rudy Gobert went for, he should go to at least at par of that, you
yeah,
know?
no, it's
So
just
yeah.
the league has definitely changed, and especially again, like I was saying, the teams with the war chest, like they're not going to go for Trey Young right now when there's bigger fish out there that they could potentially get.
Yeah, well, definitely not a bigger fish in this group, but Kyle Kuzma heading to the Milwaukee Bucks. I've seen some interesting opinions on this. I want to know what your thoughts are. But Milwaukee, essentially, it's a multi-team deal again, but I just kind of kept it straight. The Bucks receiving Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims from the Knicks, a 2025 second, a 2026 second. The Wizards getting Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, who was like the surprise pick of the first round this year, and a 2028 first round swap via Milwaukee. Don't know how valuable that will be unless Giannis is gone. Um, I, I gave the Bucks a B plus, but I think I might be more towards like a B minus at this point. But then again, what did Chris Middleton's value was anyway? And weird trade for the Wizards. I don't really understand this a lot of them at all. I feel like that was kind of a weird trade partner. Maybe
Yeah.
they got something else out of the deal, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
100%. Like I was like really, this was probably the one I struggled with the most because like the Wizards one is like super, I don't really understand it. Like AJ Johnson, like you can afford to take, a shot on a guy who hasn't really done that much since he's got
Mhm.
picked and was definitely like one of the more questionable picks in the first round. So it's interesting that that pick again is super dependent on Giannis. But I'm just pretty down on Kyle Kuzma right now. He's having a career worst season from the 3-point line right now. And like I don't know, again, I don't know if Washington like eroded his love for winning or whatever.
Maybe. Yeah.
It might have, but like it just seems like if he can kind of get back to like his role on the Lakers, I guess, I'd probably like it a little more. But if he's Kyle Kuzma of this season, just like transported onto the Bucks and there's no improvement, like I don't see really why you do this, why you trade Chris Middleton, who, is washed. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. But like, he did win a championship for you guys. Like, I don't know. It's just like very like to me, it doesn't really move the needle that much. It's all dependent on like what Kyle Kuzma you're getting.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what they would have done, but like if I could have gotten DeAndre Hunter instead, I might have done that. If
Yeah,
I was Milwaukee.
considering like the asking price for some of these guys around the league right now, it's like I don't know. I feel like again, maybe they're betting on Kuzma being good. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe their talent evaluators view him way higher than I do, but right now he has not looked good and he's been on a downward trajectory ever
Yeah.
since. And considering he was an older rookie when he came into the Lakers, he's like getting up there like, how many
I
more
think he's
years?
almost 30. If I
Yeah,
checked
like
last time I looked.
he's probably leaving his prime.
Yeah,
It's
no, he
just
turns 30 by in July. So
yeah,
next year I'll
so
be final classes.
you hope he can bounce back, but like 30 is kind of like, okay, if you're not, a star like that, the regression might start to kick in.
Yeah, I feel like I said, like you don't want a guy that's like an ISO kind of scorer like Kuzma. You want a dude that Giannis and Dame can kick out to. Like you
Yeah,
don't need a guy that should be having the ball in his hands that needs.
very ball stoppery.
But
Like,
hey, if he, like you said, if he reverts back to that Lakers version of himself, I'd say it's a better grade. So,
yeah,
but let's move in. This, I mean, this trade's all about you. Yusuf Nurkic getting it off the books by the Suns. Interesting deal. You got the Hornets receiving Yusuf Nurkic, Phoenix's 2026 first. I didn't check. Is it protected? Do you know?
it's the trade that they made trading their 2031 pick off.
Oh,
So it's
it's one
like
of
the
those,
worst
like the
of the
worst of, yeah.
yeah, you get the worst of it's like the Grizzly. It's like two
So
good
it's in the
teams and the
20s.
Jazz. So it's going to be in the 20s.
Yeah, so okay. So it's like a 20s pick
Yeah,
for
maybe late teens if all these teams are bad, but
yeah,
like
for Cody Martin, the worst of the Martin twins,
mhm.
not trying to be rude, but I don't know how to pronounce his name, but like Vasil
Mičić.
Micic, he's a
Yeah,
sophomore.
I don't know how to pronounce
And
his
then a
first name.
2026 second. I mean, like Martin, you just gotta hope his shooting percentages turn around. They have been great, and I mean, you had to get Yusuf Nurkic off the books. I mean, it kind of was. I just gave it like kind of like whether it's like C plus to both or like B minus. It's kind of in that range. It's not really much of a huge move, but for salary reasons and tax reasons, it makes sense.
I'll start with the Hornets. To me, Nurkic was one of the worst starting big men in the entire league. He got benched for a reason. After that, he kind of turned into a locker room cancer where it was clear that you need to get this guy off this team for the health of the team. It was kind of one of those situations. I mean, he can maybe give you backup minutes where you need it, but the plus side of it is he's going to be an expiring next year, so it is a very, very tradable contract.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it for the Hornets, and you also just get that first. Like, even though it will be in the 20s, it's still a first round pick. And to be able to get that with Yusuf Nurkic is not a bad thing to
They need
me
as much
because
talent as they can get.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Even if, you can use it as draft capital to maybe move up or make a move or whatever. Like it's definitely not bad for, buying so low on a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, who is legitimately horrible. All right, from the Suns' perspective, it is a full-blown disaster, and it's not really this trade that's the worst part of it,
Yeah.
but it is what this trade represents. Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen are on the Suns now, and DeAndre Ayton and Tumani Kamara are both having pretty good seasons on the Trailblazers right now, and they're on a 9-1 in their last 10. I actually haven't looked today if they won or lost or not, but
They
they
might
are
be
looking
one. Yeah.
they're looking good,
Okay.
and everybody in the league who actually watches on League Pass and knows Tumani Kamara is a problem defensively. So right there, you mess up with your talent evaluation for trying to get off a guy like DeAndre Ayton, who was a beast in the finals when we were in the finals. So it's just a tough one. It's a tough one. Trading that 2031 first to break it up into those three first
To never
was
get Jimmy Butler.
was to get Jimmy Butler. So now that we didn't get Jimmy Butler, that 2031 pick is obviously going to be good, right? And now that you have, three horrible firsts that are all going to be in the 20s split up for no reason, it's just, again, the front office swing and a miss. It's just terrible. I mean, this is more just broader Suns thoughts, but this all came to a boil at the trade deadline. I think at this point, Katie is either leaving in this offseason because, he right now only has 2 years left and extension talks, haven't been going great. So he's going to be an expiring next year. I think especially trying to trade him initially without asking
Yeah.
for his permission and then asking for his permission when you were ready to pull the trigger on getting Kuminga and Jimmy
Wait,
Butler
Jimmy
in your
Butler.
building is horrible to me. You just ruined that relationship right now. So he's not going to want to stay there. Like Kevin Durant, right? Like he would take that so personally and he's not going to want to stay. So you're taking your value right now because he's not going to re-sign, right?
Hmm.
It's just horrible. And then Bradley Beal, it has the worst contract in the league. Not one team would take him. Not one. That no
But
trade
he won't
clause.
take anyone.
Yeah, no, because Brad wants to stay here, which is his right. Honestly, like I'm not even really upset with him, bro. You're getting a bag. Washington made a incredibly stupid decision to give a guy who was never going to lead you to anything beyond the first round of the playoffs
Yeah.
a no trade clause because he's been there for so long. It's just it's loyalty that is to a fault right
Yeah.
there. And now the Suns are paying for it because they did a horrible trade and handicapped themselves in the second apron. So you can't get off that. He needs to be your tank commander. So at this point, the Suns have the worst situation in the league. There's nobody who has it worse. From a picks perspective, from a, ability to get better perspective,
Future
like
outlook. Yeah.
yeah, your future outlook, your picks, like there is no team and no trade you can make that as an easy way out. Already that Jimmy Butler trade was extremely desperate and I was off of it. And I'm going to say what I've been saying ever since, that round one series against the Timberwolves. It is time to blow it up. It's been time to blow it up. Like
Mm.
it's ridiculous trying to drag this out and, try to keep winning and like making these small moves on the margins, giving away more and more and more assets to try to, pull something out of this team when obviously these stars are completely disengaged and just want to hoop. They don't want to win. Obviously, like I think at this point you can retrospectively say Chris Paul was such an important piece to that Suns run because of his ability to pull winning out of these guys and not just hooping out of these guys. So that's just kind of where my head's at on the Suns right now. I definitely blow it up. I was seeing, Devin Booker Devin Booker, I saw a report where he wouldn't ask out. He wants to retire his son, but that's handicapping yourself too, right? Like, he's good enough where you're not going to be the worst team in the league. You're probably going to have like if he's a good player on your team, you're probably in that 6 through 10 range. Like you're
Not in the
not
West.
no, no, no. 6 through 10 for getting like a pick, right? You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Like you're gonna be bad, but you're not gonna be that bad where you're gonna be like, okay, the ping pong balls will probably fall this way, so we
Like
get a
the
top four
Wizards.
pick. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So it's just a disaster, but I'll move on. I don't wanna keep dragging it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have to have the conversation when the season ends, but it's an interesting situation. They have to move off of one of those
KD
two
is
guys.
definitely probably. I would predict KD is getting moved this summer.
Get something from them,
Yeah.
whatever you can. All right,
Mhm.
well, let's jump in. So we didn't talk about this trade because it happened like 12 hours after we filmed the last podcast.
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox gets his move to San Antonio. Good for him. He's done enough for that Sacramento
Hmm.
fan base. I know it's been a little bit of interesting back and forth, but regardless, the trade is De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin to the Spurs in exchange with the Kings getting Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, who was eventually traded in a subsequent trade for Jonas Valanciunas, and then I think was waived. But then three first round picks, which one of them is going to convey into 2 seconds. So basically, two first round picks and five second round picks for De'Aaron Fox. And then the Bulls get in on this deal to get off Zach LaVine with Zach Collins, Kevin Herter, Trey Jones, and get the rights back to their 2025 picks so it doesn't become one of those convey. So interesting situation. I give the Spurs an A plus. They didn't give up Devin Vassell. They didn't give up Stephon Castle. They didn't give up Jeremy Sohan. They didn't give up, even a guy like Champagny, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes. I give them an A plus. Kings, the B. It's a move to kind of stay competitive. You get two first round picks, you get a lot of seconds. Zach LaVine, like I said, going to keep you competitive. Reunite him with DeRozan. The Bulls get a D plus. Why did you not move off of any of these guys before the deadline? Just sell them for second round picks. Do whatever you can. Zach Collins and Kevin Herter will be expiring next season, but Trey Jones is going to expire. And why would they bring him back? They got Ayo Dosunmu. They just re-upped Lonzo Ball, Josh Giddey. They have too many guards. And then I mean, it's only not an F because they got that first round pick back. So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I completely agree on the Spurs. I gave them an A. I gave the Kings a B minus, and I gave the Bulls an F. So we're kind of on a similar wavelength right now. Yeah, the Spurs, you get like Wemby, just an incredible running mate who has been super underrated just because he's stuck in Sacramento. That a lot of the people who watch the NBA haven't watched the Kings. He's an incredible clutch player. And again, you didn't give up that much to get him. So.
Mhm.
I think that's a net positive, and you still have assets if you want to make another move going forward to really go all in on the Wemby era. The Kings, very tough position. I think having, that trade requested and him also saying he wasn't going to re-sign De'Aaron Fox. So you get a guy who has been genuinely underrated because of his contract in Zach LaVine. He has played really well this year.
Yeah.
And you get two firsts. Some of them might be good. We'll
The
see.
2031 Minnesota is probably the most valuable pick.
Yeah, yeah. With the way Minnesota's going right now, like that could become increasingly a better pick. But again, I've talked about this quite a bit. Like, what's your path to contention if you're the Kings? And to me, there really isn't one. But again, I think out of all the teams that I've mentioned so far, Sacramento has had the least amount of playoff success as
Yeah.
I've been alive. So
One
I
playoff
do,
appearance since like I think
yeah,
2008 or something.
yeah, so I do understand it. Trying
2004.
to just stay in the playoffs, stay in the picture, try to do that for your fans. So I'm out of all the teams, I'm not against it. And the Bulls, you get three terrible role players, and you get a pick that you're probably going to get this year anyways. I know it was going to convey, but still, it's kind of tough to me seeing that you were definitely going to get that pick anyways. So I don't know, an F for the
Yeah.
Bulls.
Yeah, no, interesting. And then we'll go back to end this video off. We were just so kind of discombobulated. We didn't really get to talk about this Lakers trade a little bit more in depth. So we got a couple minutes here to wrap this up. Obviously, Luka Doncic. We don't need to talk about the Jazz. We'll say they get an A plus because they just got into the deal. They got like two second round
They
picks,
just got like free two
and they
seconds.
waived Jalen Hood-Schifino because that was a
Rip. He's out the league,
the
bro.
pick
That's
was not
tough.
great. That was a bad pick to be sandwiched between.
Yeah.
But Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris. I don't think any three of those guys have debuted at the time of this recording. They're supposed to be debuting when this goes out on Monday. And then Anthony Davis had a monster performance for the Mavericks in his first game. Max Christie's been super well in the first two games, and then a 2029 first via Los Angeles. I have to still give this an A plus to the Lakers, even though Anthony Davis and Max Christie have looked good so far. You just being able to reset your timeline like that is just unprecedented. And then the Mavericks, I have it as a B until they prove me otherwise.
Um, I'm pretty similar, but I gave, Lakers A plus, Mavericks a D. It was clear that, Rob Pelinka almost like, finessed the craziest trade out of the Mavericks GM, whose name is escaping me right now, and I'm
Nico
a fraud
Harrison.
for Nico Harrison. He's been in the news lately, clearly. I mean, just it is still the craziest trade of my lifetime in
No.
any of the sports that I follow regularly. Everything out of Dallas has made this seem worse. And especially with AD going down today with a non-contact injury, even though he was playing good, is definitely, another
Telling.
kick in the nuts for Mavs fans. I mean, it's going to be must-see TV, Braun and Luca. I know, not having a center right now might hurt them for contending this year, but
Reeves had 45 tonight.
yeah. Reeves had 40, 45, 47, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like to me, it's just like that's so much offense, and Reeves is going to be even more open now that you have Braun and Luca on the court with you at the same time. Like it's just going to be pretty incredible
And
to
Connect will
see.
be there too, still.
Yeah. Connect Four is still going to be there. Again, to me, the Mavericks, it's just been baffling from a justification standpoint. You just don't give up on a guy who's 25, who's Luka Doncic, who just led you to the finals, who's a top five player undisputedly in the league. For
Without,
Anthony Davis, who is, going to continue to decline. Again, this Mavericks team is still good this year, but I think it's going to be diminishing returns as their stars get older and older and older. So,
yeah. I mean, I read one of the an article I saw, someone kind of breaking down like, hey, like, what are some other trade packages, Luka Doncic could go for? And obviously, it's all speculation and such, but I mean, hey, like, he could have gone for a lot more than what he did, more
no,
than
100%.
he
And
put a lot
not
more in the market.
calling any other team is GM
Not
malpractice.
calling OKC.
Yeah. Or it seems like they still wanted to contend, but like, what if you call Milwaukee? Yo, let's talk Giannis.
Yeah. Or like,
Like,
I mean, I even think if you go to the Rockets, you say, give me a Men Thompson, give me Reed Shepherd, give me
and a war
thing
chest of picks.
Jalen Green and a war chest of picks.
I mean, just getting only 29 first and not like any
That
swaps or
that gets
anything, or
worse
the 30.
valuable. That's becomes least valuable with Luca on the team.
Yeah, no, Luca's gonna
You
be
traded
Luca's
for a
gonna
worse.
be
Yeah.
yeah, no, or a complete floor raiser, so that pick's gonna be in the 20s. Like it's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, no, it's wild. But hey, that's the NBA trade deadline. It was wild. We'll have to come back probably in a couple weeks to see how these guys have been doing so far. But it looks pretty interesting. Literally looking towards Luka's debut. It's going to be
Hmm.
must-watch TV. As much as I'm a Warriors fan, I am a basketball fan first and foremost. So I'm going to want to watch all of this fun stuff. But hey, a lot of tons of stuff happening in the NBA. It was really good for this to happen, especially around the Super Bowl week that everyone got
Oh
their
yeah.
NBA. So, without further ado, this has been Coast to Coast Podcast. We are signing out. Peace.